We know, like us, our listeners spend countless hours every week taking care of loved ones. But most probably don't have an estate plan. Sampson McPhee Lawyers can help.
Estate planning allows you to make the big decisions now, like who will take care of your kids if you pass away, and allows you to control how your assets will be distributed and managed.
Estate planning is extra important for parents, common law partners, and people with blended families.
Call Kelly at Sampson McPhee at 902-563-5906 to find out about special pricing for our listeners.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Sarah.
How you doing?
Good. Better today. I feel like I got the awkwardness out. So if you've watched the previous episode, the first 20 seconds, I am so uncomfortable.
You really wanted to scream like,
I hate this.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling secondhand embarrassment, like, oh my God, Jessica looks so uncomfortable, so I feel uncomfortable, it's okay.
It wasn't.
We're good now.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
We are back for another episode of the Morning Meeting podcast. Excited to have you all with us again today. We have a very special guest that we'll introduce in just a moment. Our t-shirts may be giving you a hint of what we're talking about today. Jess, I think you wanted to give a little insight into today's episode before we get started, just from your own perspective.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a heavier topic. Even just speaking from my own experience, this time last year, I probably wouldn't have been able to sit down and have this conversation just because of my health anxiety. But with therapy and medication,
the good drugs,
with the good stuff, I'm in a really good place and able to have these conversations now. And so if you're someone like me that feels like this might be a little too heavy for you, that's okay. We understand. But if you can find some courage to take a listen, it's a very important conversation, and it really is a positive conversation as well. Like, we're talking about someone's journey, a positive spin. Our guest is excited. This was the whole point of sitting down to have this conversation, is to just kind of open up the discussion and talk about it in an honest but positive way of what they've been experiencing. So how about we introduce our guest? Let's introduce. We're introducing Ashley Hareguy. So Ashley is a mom of one daughter, Josie Ray. Graduating with her Bachelor of Science in Nursing in 2013, Ashley worked as a critical care nurse who worked in emergency and intensive care units.
Ashley is a nurse educator teacher with the LPN program at NSCC and the critical care nursing program for the Nova Scotia Health Authority. Ashley also owns a small business called Sunless Rays Tanning. And in 2020, Ashley was diagnosed with brain cancer. Now a brain cancer survivor and advocate, Ashley is here to chat with us today about her cancer journey. Hi, Ash.
Hi.
We said this is a very different than the last time we saw you. Not that Jess and I were together. We were separately seeing you.
But you were both naked.
But we were both naked. I was just going to say, do we look different with clothes on?
You do.
Yeah, this is new.
I like your shirts.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us these. We're very happy. It's much more comfortable to not be
I remember saying to Ashley,
in front of you.
Standing there being like, I just my boobs look this way because I breastfed and had a baby, and she was like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay.
Just walking us through the
just with my arms out, like,
well, I
don't look at them.
I panic every time.
I've seen it all.
Yeah. I panic every time I'm in there, and when she's like, put your arm this way, and I'm like, this way?
Are you sure?
This way? Because I feel like Ross Geller in the tanning bed, but I never look like that because
she always has to adjust me, because she'll give me an instruction and I'll do it, and then she'll be like, no, that way.
Yeah.
Like your other left hand.
Yeah, the other left. Yeah. A very different reason. We're not here to talk about tanning, although we can later, because those make us feel good.
They do.
And we always look our best when we leave Ashley's place, for sure.
Nobody can do a spray like Ashley.
That's true.
Thank you.
The number one.
But Ashley is around our table today, and we're so glad to have you here to talk about your experience and your journey over the last few years. So why don't we just go back to the very beginning?
Sure.
March 2020, the world was changing for most of us in different ways.
It really did.
And for you, it was changing in a much different way. So let's talk about that.
Okay. So in March 2020, I was diagnosed with brain cancer. Specifically, I had a cystic glioblastoma. So I don't know, to put layman's terms.
Yes, we like those here.
So it's the worst type of brain cancer you can have.
Okay.
I guess. And it's not people my age, which I'm 38 now. So how old? 4 years ago.
years. We need the math.
34.
Wait, Danielle,
34.
do that math. 34. Yeah, okay.
They were like, oh, like that's typically not the age you get these. It's more people like older will get them. So I had one of those. So one day I woke up. I wasn't feeling good for months. Just genuinely, like, just not like feeling well. I had sinus pressure, and I've always had sinus problems. I thought it was my adenoids. I had my tonsils removed, but they didn't take my adenoids when I was 27. And the whole time I was like, oh, they should have just took
When
my...
you were 27.
Yeah, it was not a good time.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had that tonsils and adenoids removed when I was in grade 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. 27. I feel like
Terrible.
yeah.
When you're an adult.
Yeah. That's an older, yeah.
My husband at the time like shipped me to my mother's.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't know what,
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with this.
Was
'cause
like the popsicle and ice cream routine working for
Yeah.
you? Like it worked for me when I was 7?
it did not.
Yeah.
No, because
Wasn't the same.
it was not the same. Yeah. Anyway, they didn't take my adenoids, so I just thought it was all my sinuses, pressure. I just thought there was something wrong there. I went to an ENT specialist here in Cape Breton because I at the time was working in ICU, and I could just pop down. I'd just be like, you have to advocate for yourself.
One of the perks.
Exactly.
One of the perks.
So
Yep.
one day I was just sitting in the unit. I'm like, there's something wrong here. So I went down. I'm like, can you get me an appointment? They're like, sure. So I think it was in 2 days time. They did a CT of my sinuses. Nothing. They're like, they really can't see anything, but like take this prescription. It's like, because I was like distraught. And then a couple of weeks later, I was in the unit again. One of the docs was like, I'm like, there's something wrong. Can you send me for a chest x-ray? I'm like, I maybe have pneumonia, or how
Right.
people say walking pneumonia.
Right.
But I didn't. There was nothing wrong. And then a couple weeks later, so at this time it was like February, the end of February, I went to see my family doctor. He's like, I'll order a MRI, but it may take a while. And then so the week later, I went down to one of the neurologists, and I'm like, there is something not right.
Right.
So he did an assessment, and he's like, I'm just going to see if I can get an MRI quicker. And then, so that was like a Friday. And then Wednesday, it was like March 12th, I woke up with double vision. Like my husband worked early in the morning. I woke up and I'm like, oh, there is something I can't see. So he had to come back home. We dropped our daughter to daycare, and then went to Emerge. Because I worked there before, I knew everybody, and the doctor that like helped me out, Dr. Holmes, who's like my little angel now.
Yeah.
He sent me for a CT, and they found the big tumor. So, yeah.
So this is months later.
Yeah.
Like,
This is months. So this was like from November, I didn't feel good till March.
right.
Just like, but I attribute it to, I have a new
Right.
baby. Well, not new baby. 'cause
Toddler.
it was
Toddler.
a toddler.
Yeah.
I was just, went back to work. I did a stint at NSCC, and I'm like, oh, this was exhausting. And then went back to work, was in a new role in ICU. I was the clinical nurse lead / resource nurse.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is just stress.
Yeah,
Is this
right.
what people
Right.
do with,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So anyway, it wasn't stress. I had a big tumor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think you could have like I'm trying to think for those of us who aren't nurses or healthcare professional, like you knew something wasn't right, but some of those symptoms are, like you're saying, kind of easily chalked up to, you know, stress or being tired or the daycare colds that are moving around, like your sinus pressure. You've
Like
always had that. Your adenoids, like you're just, and really like, it was that double vision.
Nobody goes goes to, I have a brain tumor.
Right.
I know some people do.
Unless you're
but
Jessica used to.
Well, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I should have. I was the critical care nurse, but I wasn't. That's just now how I am. I'm pretty positive and stuff.
Yeah. And I think because of that, you're probably rationalizing these things in other ways, right? You have so much information and knowledge that you're like, well,
yeah,
you know,
from
chances
like
are.
the fatigue, and I had some numbness and tingling. I honestly thought I had MS.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is, it like kind of mixed it like sense how it was going.
Right.
And then when I got diagnosed with the tumor, I'm like, oh, I should have probably knew that.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Right.
You're not going to like you're not
you
gonna
can't diagnose that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So anyway.
I feel like you shouldn't have known that. I think you would have.
Just because I was.
The who you are, what you know. Yeah.
So walk us through that. You get that diagnosis in a you know, cold room in the ER. You know, like what happened next?
Well, it was, you know, like so they saw the CT and they're like, you have a big cyst. We don't know if you have a tumor.
Okay.
So we're going to send you for an MRI. I didn't go to like, I'm like, oh, like, okay. I didn't go to like the, oh my God, kind of phase right then and there. I went for the MRI. Then they did another CT and I'm like, oh, okay. 'Cause I don't know why I wasn't cluing in. They just did another CT to make sure there was no other cancer. It could, because they said it could be.
Right.
And then when the MRI came back, and now I can think of it, I'm like, oh my God, these poor people. Because I knew better. And we're just like, I'm sitting in a chair in a merge just in the hallway. It was crazy because it's the Cape Breton Regional Hospital.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, I think they'll just get the cyst. It's okay. And then they put me in a room, and it was at the time, I think the time of day, it was like 5 o'clock. So my mother picked up my daughter, and my dad was there too. And my sister, who I'm very close with, and her husband was with me and my husband at the time. And they took us in a room, and they said, like, you have he said, I'm pretty sure, because they can't really diagnose until after surgery, that you have a glioblastoma. And I've had friends, parents die from that. And I'm like, oh. So we were all just like instantly you just cry.
Yeah. 34, like toddler at home. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Like, so then you go through like, okay, like now what do I got to do? And then that's when they said, you know, do you want us to life flight you? Like you might be waiting a while, like, cause it was still snow. There was snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Or they might like not life flight you, but go by ambulance then. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I said, being a nurse, I'm like, no, I have to like go see my daughter. Like, so I went home, hugged her immediately. And then my sister and husband told my mom and my dad and stuff. So, and then we kind of got those cries out. And then I'm like, okay, help me upstairs, because I still can't see at this point.
Oh, right.
I'm just like one eye trying to navigate as a mom. Like, where's her diapers? Where's her sleepers? Where's
that
her...
just doesn't change.
Isn't
like
that
it doesn't
something? Like
never.
You get this life-altering, possibly, life-threatening news, and you're still like, okay, my daughter needs the diapers, need the food, need to pack, need to do this. Like that brain, that mom brain doesn't shut off in terms of what needs to happen.
My sister took Josie with her to her house, my sister Lori, because she had a crib. She was the only one that would like take her for the night.
Yeah.
And at that time, it wasn't like, it was just like one night.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
not God knows when.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So she stayed the night with my sister and her husband, and they drove up to Halifax the next morning. We continued to, my mom and my dad and my husband continued to Halifax. It must have took like 6 hours, 7 hours, because I was just like, I can't lay down, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But in the same time, like I wasn't crying, or you just kind of do what you got to do at that point.
Yeah.
And then we got to the QE2, and you just going through Emerge, and I remember like staying there for the night in Emerge, and just like the doctor, like residents, because when you go to a teaching hospital, everyone wants to look at your,
Yeah, of course.
Right. You become,
Yeah.
I'm like literally
You're like a little project.
Yeah. A test subject. Right.
Yeah.
So there was no sleeping at that point, because you're like, oh my God,
Right.
like, I have this huge thing in my brain. So they kept doing all my neuro checks and stuff. And then I think it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I went upstairs. The surgeon actually saw me. Her name is Adrienne Weeks, and she's my angel, honestly. So she got me ready and was like, okay, this is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. When I woke up from surgery, I'm like, you can tell, like, when, like, I think she had 3 or 4 kids. She's a neurosurgeon. Her husband's an orthopedic surgeon in Halifax. I woke up and I had braids in my hair.
oh, she knew.
So yeah, like she knew, like I had long, like right now my hair is long now. So I had long hair.
Yeah.
She knew, because when the girls, like I was in the IMCU in Halifax, they're like, you're so lucky to have her, because sorry guys, would be like, meow.
Yeah. Like she took care. She was intentional with her.
Yeah. So
it is so sweet.
and then, so that's part of my journey. So then I was there like 2 days. My daughter, they came to see me. And at that point it was March 13th, 14th. The world was getting a little crazy.
Yeah, like it's COVID.
Yeah.
Did it feel COVID-y then? Not yet.
Not yet, because it wasn't shut down.
Right.
So, but they did. I think it was the 15th or something. My dates are a little bit, wherever. But I remember they did, and people couldn't visit.
Oh my God.
Awful. So
but
isolating.
they were very accommodating, because I'm like, no, like I'm too young to be here. Like,
Yeah.
they let me go on day passes.
Nice. Yeah.
One of my best friends, Sandra Johnson, who is a nurse with me, we went to nursing together. She would stay the nights with me and stuff like that, because I'm like, no offense, IMCU, but I don't know you guys.
Yeah. You need people. You need your people.
Right. I need my people that I know I trust.
Yes,
they're not
that's
going,
right.
So she stayed with me every night. And then I think a couple nights later, I was going on day passes, and then I did one night pass, and I'm like, I need to get out of here, because Nova Scotia shut down.
Yeah. So how long are you in Halifax for at this point? Is there
5 days?
And is there
and I stayed for like 5 days technically in the hospital, and then I stayed a couple extra days to my sister-in-law's in-laws.
Right.
Because if something were to happen,
you wanted to be close by.
Yeah. I just want to be where the neurosurgeons
are.
Right?
Yeah. Is this like, at this point, is it even sinking in yet? Because I'm listening to your story, and so far, like, you're told this, and then you have to manage everyone else's emotions around you, I imagine. Intentionally or unintentionally, like your family members, you have to break the news to them, or your family members are breaking the news to them, and then it's, everyone, you're dealing with it in terms of the perspective of everyone else. Like, you're sitting in there at this point. Has it sunk in, like, what this is or what this might be?
Yeah. So the first night after I got my surgery, I remember I was fine. Like, I'm like, joking around. We called my boss, like FaceTime my boss, because she was like, I can't even believe that you worked with that in your head.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Like, whatever. There's something wrong with me. Kind of thing. Just laughing and joking. And then the next day when I didn't know, because we don't have neuro surgery in the regional. I woke up again because at that point could see. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
I can talk. I can see.
You feel better.
Feel great.
Yeah.
But then I forgot swelling increases right after surgery. So then I couldn't see again. So I had a patch on my eye. So I'm like, oh my God. Then I would have like a little cry and whatever. But honestly, I didn't do that a whole lot.
Right.
That's just not me.
Right.
You do your 1 or 2 cries a little bit. Like I could have cried a lot more.
Yeah.
I would have a headache.
Right. Right. It wasn't helping you.
Right.
Yeah.
No. So I'm like, okay, this is not for me. I'm just not going to cry, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember that one time like crying. I'm like, I have a patch on my eye. Like I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess.
Right.
But then my friends came up at this point and they picked me up from the hospital and took me to where I was staying. And they were just like, they didn't know what to do. Like, here I am. I'm in a wheelchair. I have an eye patch. Yeah. And I just remember my friend Jen, who has a little bit of health anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
She picked me up. She's getting me in her truck. And she's like, oh my God, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. Because I was apart.
Oh my God.
I hate you.
Way to break the ice. that was probably the kindest thing you could have done for her, though, in that moment, like to make light of it. Because I was just thinking, what do you do as a friend?
That's like true story. Like you could call her, like that happened. Yeah. They're like, you're an idiot.
Because there's no saying like, it's okay.
Like,
right.
It's not.
Right. Because it's not okay.
Totally
like, there's
not.
no BSing your way through the realities of what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. I bet she appreciated you more than ever in that moment, probably, just to give her that sense of, humor in that moment.
So you're diagnosed, you go to Halifax, you have the surgery. After that, is it like, okay?
So then you have to wait 6 weeks after your surgery before you start treatment.
Okay.
I am not a very patient person. No. So that was like torture for me. So I think 3 weeks after my surgery, I'm like, I need my appointment. I need my plan. So I know like what to expect kind of thing. So, so 3 weeks after that, I still wasn't really walking great. Like I had no legs underneath. Like I could walk, but I was like, weak. Oh yeah, I couldn't get up my stairs. I live in an older home, and they're like steep.
Yeah.
So they had to put another railing on. So I was like, God, I feel like I'm skiing. Anyway, so they finally got an appointment. So I'm in a wheelchair. I got the eye patch. I just remember the doctors were like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have 6 weeks of radiation Monday to Friday. You're going to have chemo every day for that 6 weeks. I'm like, okay. And then me being me and just being a nurse. And I'm like, okay, so like, do you have a prognosis for me?
Yeah, I was just going to say, have you had the prognosis yet? Like, did they test it? Did they say what kind of cancer, like what happens?
Like people, like, I'm like, no, just say it.
Yeah. Direct is fine.
And they're like 18 months. I'm like, cool, let's do this. Okay, whatever. Like we're going to start this. And I just ignored it. My husband was not okay with that. And I'm like, okay, we'll just, sure. So we started treatment a couple weeks, 3 weeks later. And then I made it my job.
Yeah.
I wasn't working. So this is my job.
Yeah.
And I don't, me being me, I just always like put myself together. My mom, was instilled from my mother. Like we'd always have makeup on. We have our earrings, whatever. So I got new sweats. I got new clothes. And every time I go for my radiation, I look like $1 million. And that because when you look good, you feel good.
Yes, look good, feel good.
So, but it was such a different experience because I was by far the youngest person at the cancer center
Right.
when I was doing it.
Yeah.
I didn't see, I'm sure there were more, but you couldn't have anybody with you because it was COVID.
That is just awful. I cannot imagine that.
Yeah. So during my treatment, so my husband couldn't come in. When I have to go for an appointment, my friend Sandra, who's a nurse, would just keep her uniform on and come with me.
Smart.
Very smart.
Because at that point, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. You need someone.
You need support.
Because there's some like things, even when I still go now, I'm like, what do you say?
Yeah. How do you
that's
take it all in?
Right.
When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, I asked if I could go for that exact reason. Because she was like, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, but how can you be
You can't
paying
process that.
attention to
You don't.
all
Yeah.
of the
You don't.
information
Yeah.
they're
And I
giving
know
you? I would just
better.
like to be an extra set of ears.
100%.
Yeah. And I have to ask, like in this moment, like chemo, radiation, that treatment starting, the prognosis was given, like you're so used to being the caretaker. Was it difficult for you to be taken care of in that way? Like to be the patient versus the one taking care of the patient?
Yeah, nurses do not make great patients.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
No. So God love my parents and stuff. They were great because it was COVID. You weren't allowed to have anybody in your house. Like, remember they were doing, what were they doing? Like fines. Do you remember? when there was fines?
Yes.
I'm like, we
were washing our groceries down.
Yeah.
Like it was, that was the height of it.
Insane,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we did not follow any rules, none, because you couldn't. I
Yeah,
couldn't.
right.
It's one thing to be diagnosed with cancer, have this terrible diagnosis, and then you have to be isolated from your friends and family.
That's awful.
And you were given
That
18
is-
month at this point.
Right.
Like you're making the most of what you have with these people. Yeah.
So thank God now, looking back, I'm like, thank God we didn't listen. To it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So because it was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 weeks went by and then they started to, they're like, okay, it shrunk. Great. So now we're going to do 6 more months of chemo, which is now 5 days on, 3 weeks off for a year. And then at this point, it would be like a year. And then they went 6 more months and they did a MRI and they couldn't see it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like the best news.
Yeah.
Good scenario. So that was like almost 18 months at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must go into that MRI like holding your breath or waiting for those results.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just the power of positivity because I don't think like that.
Right.
Even when it's like terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that kind of thing. Like I
Right.
always.
You're thinking positively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to be said
There
there.
is a power of positivity for
you
sure.
Think about, you bring about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So that, and then they're like, okay, you don't have to do chemo right now. We're just going to watch you I think it was 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you like when you're going into these tests, you're having this done, you're getting chemo, you're getting radiation. Did that mean the idea of removing it was off the table? Like the first surgery you had, that was go in and...
So they took most of the cyst and some of the tumor.
Okay.
They couldn't take all of it just because it was so cloudy, I guess,
Okay.
from the cyst because the cyst was so large.
So the cyst and the tumor, two different things. Related to one another? Or,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So you think of like, how can I... so you have a wound.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so the wound would be deeper.
Yes.
And then you may get a bubble or something.
Yeah.
like
Right. Yeah. On top.
Pus,
Yeah. Sure.
like pus on top.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So the tumor is the wound and the cyst is on top?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that
And
make
it's
sense?
covering your, we have our left side and our right side of our brain.
It was going.
If you're watching this, I just did my left and right the wrong way. So my right and my
yes,
left.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. And where is it?
So it was 8 millimeter shift, which is a big shift in the world of medicine. So it's a huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So crossing over both sides.
Yeah.
So they go in, they take the cyst, they take some of the tumor, then they close you back up knowing we can't touch the rest of that tumor. It's too dangerous to do that. Chemo and radiation we'll shrink it is the plan.
They said, yeah. And then they told me, like, that's when they actually gave me the diagnosis. Like, you have a glio. This is what's going to happen. If the cyst returns, we could probably go in and remove it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So then the chemo, so you're a year into that at that point, and they can't find it.
They can't find it.
Wow.
And which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is there like a rate? Like, we were talking before and you were saying, like, there's very little stories being shared,
not
like
good
this
ones,
because of that, because there aren't many positive stories or survivors to tell their story, because most aren't as lucky.
And mine was a little bit more rare because I had that cyst. So they're thinking the cyst made the tumor soft.
Oh, okay. And is that good or bad in terms of making the tumor soft? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it took like the chemo and the radiation shrunk it.
Oh,
so you think of a tumor, you're like, if it's in your breast or whatever, it's not soft. It's like a hard mass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So to penetrate that, it's going to take a lot.
Gotcha.
So mine was like full of fluid. So
Wow.
it kind of makes sense. But in the meantime, so that was great news for me.
Yeah.
A month after I got all my good news, I'm like, oh my God, we're
Yeah,
good.
onward and upward. Yeah.
My mom got diagnosed with lymphoma.
What?
So I went from a patient to caregiver.
Caretaker. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow. So yeah, and she passed like 8 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
to
the
hear that,
lymphoma
Ashley.
was gone, but the medication, so the chemo, was very cardiotoxic for her.
Yeah.
And she already had heart issues. So yeah.
So 8 months in.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're-
So this was 2021. So she died March 2022.
Wow. So 2 years,
Mhm.
March to March, 2 years after your diagnosis.
Mhm.
What a 2 years. All COVID, like that whole time.
And my
is
father-in-law died in 2021.
Wow.
Oh,
lung
my
cancer.
God. Oh my God.
So we
Ashley.
had it was
Yeah,
Yeah,
to put it
absolutely.
bluntly. What
You know?
else can you explain it? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
yeah.
I have to ask, like, in all of this, in your own prognosis, in caring for your mom and losing your father-in-law, you have this little girl who's growing in front of you who are connected, I assume, to all of those people in, different ways and close ways. And she's 2 and you're almost 2 or 2 when you were diagnosed.
Yeah, so she turned 2. She was turned 2 in May. of that year.
Yeah. So one,
Yeah.
just 1.5 when you are told your news, you go home, you hug her, the first thing you're thinking about, probably all you're thinking about through this. And then how do you talk to her about what's happening over those next few years? Or do you? Like, how do you navigate those conversations? Does she see you in a wheelchair with your patch? You have to explain it? Or is like
No.
the child's innocence just kind of getting us through that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Because at the hospital, like, I was in the bed, so she didn't really know. And
Yeah.
I didn't have the eye patch on until
Right.
I got to my sister-in-law's sister. So
Kind of able
then
to
she was
shield her from that.
yeah, we're kind of shielding. Like, mommy has a headache. Like, mommy
Yeah.
hurt her head. That's
Right.
what
Yeah.
I kept saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And she has to take medication. Like, when,
Yes.
and then when I got home, the swelling started to go down and stuff. So I didn't need the patch. And then, and of course she wasn't in the crib.
Right.
So I had to sleep with her and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then when I would do my medication, I'm like, you have to, close the toilet seat. Like, we have
Yes.
to flush the toilet. We have to wash
Yeah.
our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff that you normally teach your kids anyway.
Right.
So mine was just, I was like, you have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is very important.
Yeah.
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 Very important.
So since then, so you get the news that they can't find it.
Mhm.
What happens after that?
How am I going to say that without
Aside
cursing?
from the million other things that
Like, it's
occur.
a mind. Really?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the only thing that just like describes it, because you're like, I went from gonna die,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Here's your timeline to, oh, we can't even find this anymore. I'm like, oh, yeah,
Wow.
okay.
Is how you're living
Okay.
your life before and after that different? Like, do you think you say you're a positive
Yeah.
person and
Now-
you're always thinking positively? Like, what have been the major life shifts away from, you know, the health and like how you have to take care of yourself and the medication and the scans and et cetera. But outside of that, like, does that change the way you live your life or you make decisions?
Before, I think I wouldn't be as positive. I was positive, but really I probably wasn't as positive as I am now.
Yeah.
I would sweat the small stuff and like fret over silly things, and now I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
You know,
You gain that perspective.
yeah, you do, and for the better.
Yeah.
I know, like, when, not so much my diagnosis, but when my mom got diagnosed, that's when I became irritable and angry, and I'm like, why is this happening, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was anxiety,
Right.
so I talked to a therapist. I got medication because I'm like, I am gonna kill somebody. I'm just so angry at like how things are, and then not so much I'm angry that it's happening. It's angry like I just had no patience for incompetence and some things in my job, and I don't want to go into that stuff. But like, so it did take my mom's diagnosis for me to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get some help here.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So not until your mom was diagnosed did you think about that piece of, or feel like you need to access
100%.
that piece of,
Yeah.
Wow. And I think that's just so natural, right? Like that human condition of we can only handle
so much.
And so much. I'm thinking of, this is such a silly thing to bring up right now, but the Inside Out 2 movie is coming out, and the new character in that it's about all your emotions is anxiety. But their point is like anxiety is wrapped up with anger and fear and all these other ways that we display it, right?
Like I should, like, I went to my doctor and I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Like, I want to kill everybody.
Right. Like,
not really, but like, you know. So he's like, that's called anxiety. And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense.
Right. You've taken your experiences since then. So, you know, 2024 now, you're getting checked, you know, every few months, and they're following you pretty closely. You're living your life maybe in a few different ways in terms of your outlook, your perspective, or trying not to sweat the small stuff. And you really wanted to share your story for others, and you really want to bring awareness to this, and you started doing that through this Go Gray in May. Our t-shirts show that. You just had a really successful golf tournament, charity, raising money for the fund. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what's Go Gray in May and what the funds are supporting?
So where are we at? So 2023, I started a initiative, or like a Go Gray in May campaign, and Go Gray is like gray matter, your gray, like in your brain. Okay. That's where the gray, and not GRAY.
Right.
Or EY.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where that title came. And I just said, what can I do that's easy, that, you know, so I sold t-shirts.
Yep.
And I ended up selling like 200 t-shirts.
Yeah.
I raised $4,000 for the foundation just on my own.
Wow.
It was hard, like, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
Track money down and track like where these people live, but it was great. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something next year. And that's when I decided to do the golf tournament.
Yeah.
Since I got diagnosed and stuff, I started golfing in 2022, just like casually. And then I actually really enjoyed it. So
I know, don't you hate to admit that out loud, that we actually like it? We're like, oh, I made fun of this sport or complained when other people did it for so long, and now I'm like, oh damn, I actually like this.
Especially now, because I did go back to basketball and soccer and stuff. I was very active before my diagnosis and stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna see if I can do it, and I did. I played basketball with Sarah, and then soccer. And then last year I played senior women's soccer and blew my ACL.
Oh, like this girl, I'm telling you, every time she walks into a new court or field, she has the brace on her knee, and I'm like, I'm getting shivers, like the flashback of your freaking knee.
It was terrible. Anyway, so I had that repaired in January. it should have been in October, but I went to Nashville instead.
Of course.
And then
YOLO.
she finishes she gets her surgery. She's on crutches or like just off your crutches. And I'm in there for a tan, not knowing this happened.
Yeah.
She's kind of like moving a little funny. I'm like, you okay? She's like, oh yeah, I just got surgery already. I'm like, why am I here? Like, this shouldn't you be resting? You're like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like shuffle it around. I'm like, the strength, I'm telling you. So go Gray May. So you just raised some money through a golf tournament. That was a successful weekend. It looked a lot of fun.
Yes, I don't have the total like numbers yet. It'll be coming soon.
Yeah, exciting. And this money is going to the Cape Breton Regional Hospital Foundation and a certain fund, right?
Yes, it's going to go to the Tom McNeil Patient Care Fund. Because when I first got diagnosed, you max your sick time. They did everything I could do, but as the breadwinner at the time, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I did. My friends did do a I was gonna say GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Then it helped raise like $30,000, which helped a lot because I had nothing, like had no money. So I used the fund. I personally used it for some
the Tom
things.
McNeil.
Yes.
Fund. Patient.
Yeah. So I wanted to give back.
That's so nice, actually.
Because and at the time, my husband's best friend's wife got diagnosed with breast cancer a month before me. Wow. And she had to use it. So this is why I picked that chair, picked it. So
it's so important that it just reminds us, like, we know this through, being in Cape Breton, we know how generous Cape Bretoners are, but community really come together when people are experiencing these things. And, we all have different capacities of what we can give or what we need, but a little goes a long way. And like, it really changes or alleviates stress for like patients' experiences, right? Because we shouldn't be worried about money or how you're going to pay for XYZ when you're getting this like life-changing diagnosis.
The last thing people should be
how,
worrying about.
Right. Like how important that these funds are in place for us to
and
access.
you don't realize like the extras that, with your work.
Right.
Like, you should get critical illness.
Yeah. Right.
You should have things on your car because my car was paid for. Like I didn't have to pay for that.
Right.
So it's, you don't think of those things because that's not going to happen to me.
Right. We just got critical care, like an extra, policy of critical care insurance, and we were chatting about it, and
it's worth the money.
Yeah. That's what we were chatting with, and they were like, you just don't know.
You just don't.
Yeah.
That's a good topic for another time, maybe, like just to consider. These are the things that you're not really taught, and you kind of learn through conversations like this, and you're like, oh, maybe we should look into that, and then you're not sure if it's the right decision or not.
I will I will testify for that. People need it because you have no idea how the impact affects you until you're in that position.
Right.
So,
and then it's too late. Like,
and then you're like, you can't do it.
So. Yeah, that planning really matters.
So how can we as community members support this initiative? So you've done the golf tournament, you're selling the t-shirts. How are we able to support?
So you can buy the t-shirts for next year. But I think any like initiative, so I won't do this until next year, just to give myself a little bit of a break. But any time you can donate to that fund is wonderful.
Right.
Yeah. Because they help a lot of people out every year.
And all patients can access that fund? Is that
cancer patients.
Cancer patients.
No, I saw like when I did my placement, my social work placement at the hospital in medical, I spent a lot of time in the ER. The amount of support that the foundation helps families is unbelievable. Like those funds that people are giving to, like they are utilized in a very big way.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it until I was actually in it. Like multiple times daily. I think those funds are accessed for people, and it really is the patients. It's for the patients.
It goes directly
to them.
They would just I remember vividly, because I was still on the payroll at that time. They're like, oh, good, we're just going to put it right in your account. I didn't have to wait for a check or anything like that. So
I think that's why another reason why it's so important to share these stories, because oftentimes even those of us who, you want to donate or you donate to these funds or the foundation, you see it go on your screen or you click next or you click submit or whatever it looks like, you don't really know just how impactful every cent, every dollar, is.
Yeah. It's, in some people, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little proud, not like I didn't want to ask.
Right.
I'm like, I should be able to do this. Like, I'm a nurse, whatever. But and then you're just like, I don't care. I wasn't getting EI yet.
Yes.
Which is nothing.
Yeah.
when
When
you're used to making.
Right.
So it was hard for me to ask, but they're 100%. And Tom was working at the time, Tom McNeil. So yeah, it's people use it. I know he said like, oh, do you need oil? Do you need this?
Right. Like the things you just don't think about.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I just, anyway, like being a cancer patient, it'd be the winter and you can't afford oil. Like, this is where that fund comes into play.
The last thing you should be worrying about. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We know that these are some ways that we can support the fund and the initiative. I want to know, like, how did you feel most supported through your friends or your family or loved ones? Like, for those of us who may have family members or close friends who are experiencing a critical illness or was diagnosed with a life-changing diagnosis like yours, what are some of the best ways that you received like love and support? Not necessarily monetarily, but just, is it not talking about it? Is it talking about it? Is it giving you the option whether you want to or not? Is it, what does that look like? Is it like keeping your life as normal as possible?
Yeah, keeping my life normal as possible from my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But some things you just like, I would just like, when people would ask me about it, I would tell them. I wasn't really ready until like last year, to be honest, until I could like talk about it and stuff. Cause I was more, not so much me again, it was my mom. So now that I'm more okay with it, I can talk about it more. But yeah, just for me, we laugh a lot. Me and my friends.
Yeah.
Even when my mom was alive and like stuff like that's how we are.
Yeah.
We just make jokes all the time.
Yeah. Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah. That's how we cope. So
So it's giving you that opportunity to just be yourself when you feel like everything around you is changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important to know. I think sometimes it's hard to know. A friend of mine and I were talking about this recently, like, this is how I would want to be supported, but I don't think that's how that person wants to be supported. So how do we best support them in a way that feels
think we
right
just ask.
Them? Yeah, right.
I think it's okay to ask.
Right.
Yeah. Whether it's this experience or another.
Yeah.
Like, how can we best support you right now? What do you need right now in this moment?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably for me food. I like food.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like to cook.
Yes. That'd be fine too. Bring me like food and just spend time with me.
Yeah. So like this.
Let me know you're thinking of me.
When my mom was still alive, that I would, between her and my mother-in-law, I didn't have to worry about that because I was just like food or people would send me gift cards and stuff. So that was great.
Yeah.
So this time, because I did get, they thought my tumor grew back, but it did grow back in November.
Okay. Of 2023. Last November.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They weren't sure, so they're going to do another MRI, and then anyway, in April of this year, I did start chemo again. And this time around, it was different.
Yeah.
It was different because, my mom wasn't here.
Right.
I recently separated with my husband.
Right.
So it was just me and Josie in the house and stuff. So it was different.
Yeah.
Not like in a sad way. It was just like, oh.
It feels different than last time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because it was.
Yeah.
you know, I didn't have $30,000 extra dollars. Just if I needed to order a pizza and stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was it's just different.
Yeah.
But that again, you just kind of like roll with it. I'm like, all right, this is what we got to do.
And your relationships look different, like interpersonally speaking, like you said, your mom, like those pieces have been different over the last little while. And now you're entering something that maybe feels a little familiar because it's not your first time with chemo, but you're different.
But it was
a few years later, right?
Yeah.
Our first episode, same, but different. It's like the same.
100%. I'm doing it. I'm doing the chemo again, whatever. Yeah. I know what to expect, but now it's just different.
Yeah. So that was found, that scan was in November. They see something there again. You start chemo in April.
and then twice in May. So I'm just, I'm on my chemo right now.
Okay.
So this is my second time in May doing that.
And what does that look like for you, Ash? Like for the chemo, do you go to the cancer center? Is it an oral?
It's an oral chemo, so I take it at night. So I started last night, and for 5 days I'm on it, and then 28 days off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many times do you do that?
I'm going to do that 4 more times.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then do they scan?
They do scan. So I just had another scan last week, and it did show that the spot that we're checking on did shrink.
Okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to stay on the chemo to see if it shrinks further.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just keep scanning that every few months to check on the size of
Yep.
it. And while you're in this, like, what language do you use to describe your experience? Like, do you say you're in, is it remission? Is it cancer free?
I did use remission, like 2021.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just, I'm actively having chemo. So
Right.
it's back, but it's not.
Like
Right.
maintenance?
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Maintenance. It's a maintenance phase. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. And you really wanted to, share your story and bring awareness. And I think through everything, we've talked about this in different scenarios, that raising funds and supporting our community in different ways is so important. But talking about it and raising awareness and having conversations is a big piece. And you were, a big advocate for sharing the positive stories. Can you talk about that?
So when I got diagnosed, there wasn't a lot of positive stories, like at all.
Right.
Mostly because a lot of these people that have glios are not alive. So I had to search for some stories and stuff like that. But I wanted to talk about it because it's not all grim. There is people like me out there that are positive, and they still live their lives and have children and go through divorces, whatever needs to, like...
Yeah, like life keeps
All the
lifing.
things.
Yeah.
All of the things. So, and I just wanted to, raise awareness and this positive story.
Yeah.
It's not all positive for me. It's not, but it's okay because that's life. And I just wanted people to know that. So
the reality of that.
The reality of it.
I'm getting emotional. Like, we hit a box of Kleenex under here, just thinking I would cry through this whole entire episode. But your positivity just leads us through it in such a way. But I'm getting emotional now thinking about it because...
Well, don't make me cry.
No, sorry. But I'm thinking about the next person who's given this diagnosis and is looking for those positive stories like you did, who couldn't find it. And someone's going to send them this podcast to be like, actually, you should connect with Ashley.
You should.
Or maybe not even this episode, but your story in whatever way, to be like, we should connect. You need to connect with Ashley because that's such a positive.
So when I started the Go Gray in May, like the t-shirt campaign, I had a lot of people reach out to me saying like, I'm so glad you did this. My loved one passed away or they're going through this as well. Like, I'm so glad that you're doing this or talking about it. So, and I've met survivors, not just of glios, but like other types of brain tumors. Yeah. Cancerous or non-cancerous.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's such I want to say unique. Like, I think it happens more often than we think, but it's not happening every day where you can just say like, oh yeah, Sally down the street did this and it's fine. Like, it, you have to connect, and it's a vulnerable experience, and we're not all comfortable sharing those highs and lows or these experiences in general. And I think it's just so courageous of you to do it, and you do it in such a positive, like humorous, lighthearted way, not to make light of the very serious situation, but like you said, it's life. What's our other option but to kind of
it's
tackle
either
this head on.
I'm gonna cry every day, or I'm just gonna
live your life,
live my life and be me and be funny. I don't think I'm funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're funny. You're funny. You're funny. I know you. You're funny. Yeah. So. I just think it's so important. And I'm just so grateful for you to share the space with us and share your story with us. And I think it will be so special that the next, not that I want anyone to experience it, but for those who are, they'll have someone to say like, actually, here's a really positive story or a person you need to connect with to kind of give you that hope or that light that you need. Yeah. It's incredible.
I hope so.
Yeah, what an impact. Yeah. What's next? Can we talk about So during all of this, I mean, we started the conversation about how well you tan us, but
So
during all of this, you became an entrepreneur.
I did.
What a mother, what a woman to do that.
Because I couldn't go in the sun. I have, had cancer, and I have this bald spot here. You can't really see it because of my hair now. Before you could see it because I didn't have hair.
Right.
But no one was tanning, spray tanning. I used to go to spray tans all the time because I'm very pale.
Yeah.
So I went online and searched like good tanning, whatever, found a course. And then I took the course because what else do you
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. On behalf of all of us.
So I started. Started doing just my friends, and then a year passed. I'm like, they're like, you should have an Instagram page. I'm like, I guess so. Like, will people come to me, kind of thing? And now it's I could probably do a tan or two every day. Yeah, so it's good. It was good just to like see people because I'm not at work yet. I didn't go back.
Right.
Just because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I was
you had a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I had a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
In the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm just making people feel good.
Yeah.
Well, my motto
What a
was
gift.
always, if you can't tone it, tan it.
Right?
Because
100%.
a tan will just take you right from
Yeah,
here
it
to
makes
here.
you feel good.
Right.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
I just trained a couple of my friends to do me.
Very
Oh,
smart.
that's awesome.
That's why
I
I'm
was
tan right
actually
now.
wondering,
Like, look
how you
Yeah,
did
I'm
that.
like, you
Because
look
at the
great.
basketball tournament, you
Yeah.
walked in.
Yeah.
Ashley walks into this basketball tournament looking fly. Like, her outfits are amazing. Her tan
what's her
is
name?
perfect.
Kim McClaw.
Oh my gosh,
you
the
know,
coach of LSU, Kim Malaki.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I
was channeling me. Like
She's in her
Yeah.
hot pink coat. Her hair's done. She looks amazing.
I was coaching.
We're
Yeah.
in our like tight t-shirts, our sweaty hair. We're like, Ashley, what is aren't we wearing jogging pants? Like, what's happening here? You're looking
Yeah.
so good.
Well, I couldn't play. I had a torn ACL, so I might as
but
well look
her
good.
Yeah, of
tan
course.
looked so good. And we're like,
Her
you are a
tans do.
walking advertisement
smell
for your
good.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After
But I
you get a
wondered-
tan there.
Yeah,
you
you
smell
do.
good.
But I wondered how you did that because I was like, did she tan herself? This is a crazy
hell
skill.
no. You cannot do that by yourself. Yeah.
I couldn't
I'm glad you
imagine
cleared
it.
that up. I was amazed.
So I'm glad I have some friends that will do it. Or
Smart.
yeah, my friend Carla, and who is an esthetician. So we kind of trade
Smart.
manicures for tans.
I gotta
love
get
it.
one
I was just
soon
gonna
because I'm going away. I'm going to Ottawa and Toronto in a couple of weeks. And I get I've been getting my eyelashes done, and I feel like $1,000,000 Like, I feel so good, and I'm like, I am one spray tan away from ruling the world.
Right?
So I'm gonna be hitting you up soon before
Yeah.
my trip because
Yeah.
you just feel so good.
You do. And it's a part of, this is we're going to have another conversation coming up this season about this, but Ash, I think you would agree, like, we talk about these things and it's not in vain. It's just the idea of when you can do things that make you feel good, whatever that is for you, it changes your outlook, right? Like, it does give you that piece of positivity you need to take you in or through the next challenge, whatever that looks like.
Right.
If that's lashes or spray tan or whatever
Or
else.
both.
Like, or both.
Yeah.
You're like,
do it.
you could be the prime minister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
move over, Trudeau.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you. I'm literally
literally
going
coming for ya.
to. Yeah, I'm literally going to. What's it called? Parliament.
Yeah.
Nice.
Going to Parliament. My mom's receiving an award, so I'm
Nice.
gonna go and
With
spend
your
some time.
spray tan and your eyelashes.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's gonna
Move
come in the
over.
box.
Right?
That's right. You're
Yeah.
ready to rule the world. Ash, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much
for
for
being
having
vulnerable.
Yeah.
and telling the world your story. Or
me.
to
We didn't
those who
cry
listen
this
to
much.
this.
We didn't cry.
We did.
Like
I'm
the
proud of
whole.
us.
Yeah.
I almost got through it, but
I've been squeezing this
Yeah,
piece of
same.
Kleenex the entire time.
me too.
Like,
We did it. Whatever it takes. Tell us, where can people find more? Where can they connect with you in terms of the t-shirts or Sunless Rays, or
So-
how do they donate to the fund?
Yep. So I started not Instagram. Where am I? Facebook. A Go Gray and Me
Okay.
May Cape Breton. So you can find me on there, or it's Go Gray and May CB at gmail.com.
Perfect. And we'll
Yeah.
put that in the episode notes so it's easy
Yeah.
to find you.
Yeah.
And just click wherever you're listening.
And if like you can't get a hold of me, you can always go to the Cape Breton Regional Hospital Foundation, and they'll help you.
Tom McNeil Patient Care Fund.
Yeah.
Tom McNeil Patient Care Fund.
And if someone wants a spray,
You can come find me on Instagram. It's called Sunless Rays. Ray is REY because that's my daughter's name.
I love that name.
I know.
Isn't that sweet? I know.
The spin on that.
Because naming
Right?
a business is freaking hard.
Oh,
Yeah, so Sunless
Good
is
one.
sunless tanning and rays.
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Isn't that
I'm
awesome?
clever, aren't I?
Sunless Rays. Very
Very
clever. Very. I love it. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to chat with
Thank
you.
you so
We look
much
forward
for
to-
having me.
Of course, and thank you for the shirts.
You're welcome.
We look good. We'll share, trade a mug.
We'll
for a
get
shirt.
and we'll get a picture
Yes.
too
I
when we're
love
done
it.
here. And
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks so much, Ash.
welcome.
Jess, always a pleasure. Thanks for everyone for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time on the Morning Meeting Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.